Welcome back, everyone. Today, I want to give you a quick bit of insight into the sort of the evolution of these models which I've been creating and why I did it the way I did it. I just want to give you a sort of basic rundown. This shouldn't take too long, but I've said that before. So do you even believe me? I made DJZ Old Gods, I made DJZ Woman, I made DJZ Black Sun, and I made a new version of Not the True World, all in Flux with completely unique captions and images. All of these were made so that I could inject those influences into DJZ Cyber Society, which is a remix of an older model, which I made in 2.1. So, and also originally in like Mid-Journey, going back to mid 2022, that summer when everything kicked off. So essentially, this is, a big project and it's quite complicated, but anybody can do it. And I really enjoyed the process. So I have already explained at length the technical side of it. So the actual workflows that were used, the prompts that were used, the balancing of the Loras, all of that stuff was in a previous video on dataset mutation. So there was a dedicated video explaining that side of it, but that doesn't really put into context the genealogy of the model. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a quick look at that. I've made this here. Now the PDF file was 250 megabytes, so I'm not going to bother sharing it. But I might put a medium quality. So that means you won't get the full images, but you will be able to see them. I might put a medium quality version onto Google Drive. The 250 megabyte version was just impossible to scroll. Chrome would crash. It was like quite funny, actually. So anyway, I'm going to show you my original document because that'll make it much easier to explain. So let's just get rid of the UI. Okay, so as you can see, this is the rough process. Okay, so we take a data set and we curate the images down. We create new captions and retrain the model. Now, using that model, we inject various Loras to mutate the data set again. So what we're doing is we're doing a batch on the data set, okay, and then injecting trained Loras. So we make multiple Loras, and then we inject those Loras into the data sets themselves to make new data sets. Now, obviously, if you do low denoise, it's going to be almost exactly like the original images from your data set. If you do high denoise, you're going to be creating all new data sets. And then, of course, we're recaptioning those images again. So we'll curate the images, create new captions, retrain the model. And you just go round and around and around and around. And that's what we did for 6 generations. So let's see what I was actually doing. So this is CyberSocietyV66. Now, I got to say, this was a plan from the start, but I couldn't. It's funny. It's the first time I've done something complicated like this, where we put 5 or 6 Loras into a iterative data set. So it's more like an evolution or an origin of species, okay? In order to get to CyberSocietyV66, we needed to have Black Sun, Old Gods, Woman, and my Not the True World passive detail enhancer. So that would be all of them together. Now, DJZ Woman was a 2.1 model I trained, so I've already done that. Black Sun was also, wait, what am I waving for? Okay, well, anyway, Black Sun was also a model in 2.1. Old Gods is a Flux exclusive. Cyber Society is an old project I did in Mid-Journey and Photoshop 2 years ago. This is actually a book. So what I'm doing is I'm taking the, get that hand out of the way. I'm taking the images from my book and then I'm using them as the main data set that we're going to be enhancing. Okay. Right. Now, obviously you'll see that in a minute. So anyway, so DJZ Woman gets 4K photography and that's not how you spell, is that? Physiology and faces. This is the passive detail enhancement, which is architecture and structural data. It gives you nice sharp edges and straight lines for everything. DJZ Black Sun is a sci-fi, dark sci-fi, and it's going to use some of the composition data. Same with Old Gods, but we use the original, not the Oh, actually, no, wait, it was the V1, so we used the crumped version. Okay. Now, not the true world V5. If I can give you a look at some of these images, they're obviously quite small, so you can't see the full detail. But as you notice, they're very sharp, right? Which is the whole point of the model. This is to teach sharpness, especially this one, sharpness and a detail depth. Okay. Now, there were actually 283 images in this set. All of the set examples I'm going to show are only going to be the first 9 images. All right. But they're actually just a sample of the data set. This isn't the whole thing. So Not the True World was a passive enhancer, so you don't prompt it, you just load it, and it will sharpen and straighten edges. That's basically what it does. Then the Old Gods data set. The Old Gods data set, this is the original data set, which is basically, it's an experiment with Midjourney version 3. I wanted to train in the details of Midjourney version 3, and as you can see, that's what these images are. Okay, but then when we play the game of telephone, you end up creating images like this, because we injected a Robert Crumb Lora. And so what it's done is it's given a combination of my prompt with my noise from Midjourney as the starting point, and then it's finished it off using the knowledge that was trained in, okay? And as you can see, this is what you end up getting out of the model. V00 is the full train. So single digits is fast train, double digits is long train. So for context, the fast train takes 5 minutes, the long train takes a day. So that's the difference. Obviously, they're different training configs. So you get the benefit of both, right? We get the fast model, which gets most of it. And then we get the slow model, which gets all the fine details like this, as you can see here, right? Now, none of these images have been upscaled or enhanced. These are raw outputs from the base model, right? With the Lora loaded, of course. So moving on to the second influence, that would be the Black Sun data set. Now, Black Sun originally looked like this when it was trained in 2.1. So usually the 0 data set is going to be the original captions and the original images. V1 would be improved captions, but the same images. V2 would be, again, all new images, but this time with a completely new captioning strategy, because I was testing different LLMs against each other and stuff to get different captions, right? V3 and V4 are then the evolved data sets. So as you can see here, we've gotten a little bit more photographic stuff from the woman set in here. And then I've added in my Midjourney noise into the data set. And now we're getting this lovely, it's very artistic distortion of colors and shapes, which is exactly what I was going for, because I know that once I put this into my upscaler, it'll sharpen it all up and smooth it all out, but it will still leave interesting artifacts to look at. So that's what I wanted from the Black Sun influence. Obviously, there's a lot of silhouettes and a lot of crazy sci-fi, bit of photorealism, nice reflections and sharpness. So this is a good model. All of these are slightly different and created for purpose. So as you can see here, we've got the different versions being compared. V4 versus 44, V3 versus 33, and then V0 and V1, because there isn't a 1-1 or a 0-0 for this particular data set. V0 and V1 had already been created. If I remember right, V0 is done with manual captions, maybe, and I think V1 is done with Florence, and then I think 3 and 4 were done with One Vision, but there may have been more stuff loaded in. Okay, and then we've got more examples comparing different prompts, all same seed. Okay, and then we get to look at the woman data set. Now, the woman data set V0 is based on 4K photographs, so that's what we're looking at on there. And then what we've done is we've actually done a data set mutation with the Midjourney stuff, I think. Yeah, it's a prompt randomizer. And we've added Old Gods to that one. So, and then in V2, look, we've added Cyber Society, but we've added Cyber Society V0, which was that very heavy Midjourney noise from my book. And as you can see, it does a great job in turning the images that it had into this sort of stuff. which is exactly what I wanted. All right. And then finally we get to V3 where it's like extremely stylized. Okay. Now, obviously I've got the option of choosing which version I want to load in for my injection mutation stage. So again, here are this is comparing the different versions. All right. So just to give you a timeline, how this actually gets put together, we've got V0 first, followed by 00, because it took longer to train. Then V1, followed by V11, and so on until we get to version 66. But the thing I want to point out is that when you have a good grasp on how this all works, you will be able to imagine V66 and then know I need these building blocks to create my final model. Because what I've done is I've said, well, look, this is actually so predictable. It's something which you can say, oh, well, I want to create this model using these images. What's missing? Okay. So this is my CyberSocietyV0. It was a retrain. There are hundreds of images in the actual collection. I think 85 went to print. But the point I'm trying to make is that there's only 38 in the first model, because what I'm trying to do is evaluate whether the training is even successful. When you get a good model, you don't really want to, because look at this. See, this is what it was like. 2022. Anybody remember AI in 2022? Anyway, so this was something which really caught my eye. I love the way this looks. It was beautifully messy. I call it a beautiful mess. And so what I've done is I've basically retrained, combined, injected. I think we've injected Black Sun into this. Okay. And as you can see, it's retained the noisiness, or it's tried to learn the noisiness, which is what I wanted to teach. I'm not too bothered about how it looks. I just want to know that it's actually learned this off-color noise stuff. Woman is there, you know, because the face looks great, which it wouldn't normally look that good. It's, like I said, ripe to be, you know, upscaled and redetailed using the enhancer. So only 18 images in this set. Didn't want to overload it because I'm trying to get quite a messy look out of this one. V2 and V3 have the same data set, which basically was using a combination of the above models and V1. What I've done is I've reinforced each version with the previous version to create the next data set. That's one of the evolution rules. So we're basically cross-breeding multiple Loras together. All right. And as I say, when I got to this, I was trying to make it more sharper, more photorealistic, please. And if you see this here, I'm using my own prompt randomizers as well. They're all in DJZ nodes. I think they're in the prompt section for my prompt randomizer. And as I can see, it's making a real bunch of like dystopian future tech astronauts and whatever. So that's cool. However, I really wanted it to have the Japanese influence back again. So I made sure to include some categories like samurai, etc. And that meant I can get some of those sort of features back. You can see this is like 100% samurai, but he's been converted to my noisy, beautiful mess. Okay. And it's done its best to basically give me both. It's given me the style of art I was working on, but it's also given me the cyber samurai, which is part of the whole cyber society vibe. So we move on from V4 to V5, which has got more images and a slightly tighter captioning strategy. This one would be kunoichi rather than samurai. So I just decided to take a different sample of 5. It's technically the same data set, but I actually, V4 includes V0, which is an interesting thing. And because it got so big, I was unable to train it in V5. So I had to drop some of I was basically using a previous model's data set as regularization to reinforce the style. And I think it really worked with V4. But it was not possible to make a full train. So I had to go straight to V55. And basically, this is a cut down data set. But that's okay, because it actually, it sort of enhanced it in some ways. However, I was using prompt randomizers for a lot of this. And that meant that a lot of the images were rejected because they don't make sense. For example, that there's a tank in the background here, but sometimes you'd get like a little Toyota Corolla, which doesn't make sense in the context of your futuristic dystopian stuff, right? So just something to watch out for. And that was because of my prompt randomizers, you know? It was bringing in things which are more modern setting, and that was changing things. Anyway, we take the V55 and we take the V0, which have now been loaded up. We also load, I didn't load Old Gods for the final round, but we did load Black Sun and Woman. Just Woman was at 0.3 and Black Sun was at 0.6. Most of the strength was in the V00 and in the V55. And then we put image to image on some Renaissance painting as well. And that further enhances it. That further enhances the images. And then we get these lovely, it's the beautiful mess, but it's inside the Cyber Society world now. And so all I've got to do is take the final model to generate the final images, to upscale them and put them in print for volume 2. And that's kind of the whole point of the process, okay? Now, clearly, you can see there was a lot that went into this. The process is complicated, and it's easy to lose track of. So if you don't actually have a plan, you really should make one before you start going into stuff like this, because I think this may have been 250 Loras trained for the express purpose of combining them together to make V66. And then, even then, we still need to have a formula to really bring this out. Because it's not just going to come out from saying a cat, and you're just going to get something like this, but with a cat. It's not going to happen. You have to have some caption strategy, a formula, or a way of writing the prompts so that it can really hook into all of the trained data. There it is. And if I just take a look at this, we're comparing the final versions, I think. Let's see, 11113. So these are the comparing the initial versions, actually. Yeah, they're comparing the initial versions. There's nothing there comparing the V66. So I think I probably should just add that. And as you can see, with these comparison charts, we're comparing, I think actually this is V00 and that is V22. For some reason, those top layers are labeled wrong. I don't know why that kept happening. Probably just because I was so busy. Like I said, it's been very difficult to juggle all this stuff. But I know that the top ones are actually 00 and 22 because I know that the rest are correct. So this is what this must be. Same with this one over here. 00 and 22 at the top. And as you can see here, you can see that the details that have been learned are more true to the original style, but here benefit from the sharpness of the additional influences. And then the 4 other variants in between show a sort of crossing of the Venn diagram, essentially. A lot of this is down to the curation, so which images that you pick and then what is going to get trained. The rest of it is all captions. What you're seeing in the middle, the difference here, is essentially, mostly it's the same images. It's just been captioned differently so that you're telling it to pay attention to different images in the dataset. Now, I think that V00 and V66 are the best versions. They're the most true versions. They make the least number of mistakes and the most accurate adherence to the style that was trained or the style that was designed by combining all of these influences. So that's pretty much everything I've got for you. I just wanted to point that out because we're going to be taking a look at print. And without this sort of stuff, you won't have, you need to have images which are definite, like there's no way you can dispute this. Like I said, if I look at something like this, how these images were made, the idea that you just clicked a generation button, this took 2 weeks and it's extremely complicated. Like if you don't really know what you're doing, you'll never get there, Sure, you could load one of my images and just put it on 0 denoise. Hey, you just generated one of my images. See, the amount of cute arguments out there right now is hilarious. But they're all getting thrown out of court one by one. So that's good to see. Alrighty. So if I just take a look here, this is basically the the full explanation of how we got to these images. And like I said, soon you're going to be seeing a new collection coming out, and I'm going to be doing a video tutorial on how you can self-publish, how you can make sure that your images look great in A1 or A2. They won't look blown out or pixelated or grainy or whatever. And like I said, you can look forward to that next time. So thank you very much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. So, memberships are here. I've added donator and member. The donator membership is just you want to support the channel, help us grow. Member, you're going to get some exclusive video access. And check out the join now button for more information.